Guys, it's Manga Time once again. I'm here delivering you my review of Bleach 678, The Future Black. People are not going to like this chapter. I have no problem with it. Actually, we'll get into that in a minute. Right, okay. It starts off with a typical Kubo back in time move. And Ichigo's like, oh, and what of this despair? I know it all too well. We get some cool flashbacks to all the times Ichigo's been fucked, basically. I recognise most of them. One of them is obviously when Ginjo steals his powers. The other one's when Ichigo tells Isshin they can't beat Aizen. Another one's when Aizen's escaping Soul Society. All that sort of deal. And then obviously Ichigo's mum dying. But he's like, I've climbed up, I've kicked it in its teeth. And basically he starts raging out. He's like, I've surpassed it over and over again just to make it to this very moment. And then he initiates his Bankai transformation. And a couple of people last week were disappointed that it looked like, at least at the end of the chapter, that he just sort of went like that and then did Bankai. But no, he puts his two blades together so that the small black one is essentially going into the white one. And he says Bankai, and there's an enormous explosion. And this was immediately when I thought something was wrong. Because I know Kubo way too well at this point. There is no way that Ichigo's Bankai transformation would have been finished in half a page's worth of explosions. If it was his actual Bankai, where number one would be playing in the background, we would get reactions from everyone. Yhwach would be like, what is this? And then, the smoke would disappear and Ichigo would be standing there. But no, it was over with in half a page. And I was like, that's weird. We then get to see the Bankai, Tensa Zangetsu, and it didn't change again as much as I thought it would. And that was the second sign I was like, something is up. This is weird. The Bankai itself does look quite cool. It's basically, his sword now has a proper katana-style hilt. And it's one big sword now, but it's like an enormous kind of white blade that kind of curves round with the black filling up the hole in the middle, and there's also a chain attached to the top of it. It does look cool, but it's not, like, impressive, I guess is probably the word. So this is clearly not his final Bankai. And then this is super weird, because this has never happened in Bleach before. We get, well, at least to my knowledge anyway, we get the exact same picture on the second page, only the top half of his Bankai is now cut off. At first I thought, is this a mistake? But no, obviously it's not. But, yeah, immediately the top half of Ichigo's Bankai is gone. Yeah, he's not particularly happy about it. And this is what people are going to hate. Because we have been building up to the reveal of Ichigo's new Bankai for ages now. And this is an insta-troll. To be fair, this is a bit of a troll. I generally tend to defend Kubo where he trolls, but this is a troll. To immediately have Ichigo go Bankai and then have the top half it get cut off, and then be completely useless for the entire fight is definitely a bit bullshit. And now I want to basically say why I'm alright with this and why I'm not alright with it. So I get that people are going to hate the fact that Ichigo's new Bankai got absolutely nerfed immediately. The reason I'm annoyed with this is because it ruins his Bankai reveal. That's mostly what I'm annoyed of. I assume now this isn't his last Bankai. He's obviously going to get a new one again, but how's that even going to work? Because now his Bankai has been broken, and then we know from this arc already that means it can never be fixed. So one can assume that the top half of his Bankai is now like this forever. So he's going to have to go through more training to somehow get another Bankai, one can assume. So for now, just the whole big reveal, Ichigo's final arc Bankai has been tainted by the fact that it just didn't work. So we're going to have to go through another one, essentially. That's kind of the only thing that bothers me. But it is a pretty crazy twist. I did not see it getting instantly jibbed. I did not see it coming at all, to be honest. But anyway, Ichigo looks up and looks down even, and Yhwach's dropping the top half of the blade, and Ichigo says, I didn't feel his reactor at all, he hasn't moved, I don't get it. And Ichigo clearly doesn't understand what's going on here, and I just want to say that I was right. Last week I thought I was wrong, but no, I am right. Yhwach's ability, his true ability, is to change the future. Last week we found that he can see every future, but he can also change it. He can literally change it, which is how he was able to put traps where Ichigo was. The future Ichigo tried to take, let's say, was him jumping out of the way. But Yhwach took that grain of sand and he was like, right, you escaped my attack on this grain of sand. I'm going to change that so that you land on a trap. And then he puts it back and Ichigo lands on a trap. In this future, Ichigo activates his Bankai and then I'm assuming kicks some serious ass. But Yhwach grabs the grain of sand and he's like, right, this time I'm going to make it so that I snapped your Bankai in half. So this is, without question, the most broken ability in Bleach. Because one can assume that, say he came up against Aizen and Aizen Kyokusui gets at him. The moment Yhwach knew he was under Kyokusui Getsu, he could just be like, right, I'm going to change this, I don't know, say your sword is destroyed. He could do something like that. Yhwach says, don't look so frightened, Ichigo. I simply expressed my respect to your power. Your new Tensa Zangetsu is a fearsome Bankai. That's what I concluded. We do get some pretty amazing artwork in this chapter, actually. Like, some of the Yhwach close-ups are really well done. He says, so through the future, I broke it. And he says, I'm sure you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but you won't have the luxury of being able to figure it out either. And he says, I told you not to let your guard down. And then we see he's got Ichigo's horn in his hand. This is when Ichigo gets the shit kicked out of him, basically. So Yhwach's now broken off Ichigo's horn and he throws it at Ichigo. Ichigo deflects the horn with his sword, but while he's doing so, Yhwach appears behind him and sends him flying. So Ichigo starts getting shit. Again, this is another reason people are going to hate this chapter, I think. Is not only that Ichigo was supposedly going to do his Bankai, but now he's actually getting destroyed. Yhwach cuts him across the chest and sends him flying. Yhwach tries to strike him again, but this time Orihime actually stops him, which I thought was cool. She's actually back and she's actually doing something, but again, it's pointless because even though she can block Yhwach once, his ability allows him to take that future and be like, I'm going to make it so you didn't block me, and then Ichigo gets slashed, which is exactly what happened. Orihime's like, I defended against it. How did he do that? Ichigo goes flying. He's in serious trouble now. And he says, and Yhwach's like, did you question it at all? How simply just by being able to see the future, I could accurately place traps in each and every place that you would step. Now, I just want to say something here. Yhwach says, did you question at all how simply just by being able to see the future, I could accurately place traps in each and every place that you would step? Well, yes. If you can see the future, then I don't know why anyone would necessarily question that, because that's just something that would happen. If you could see the future, no one's going to question how you were able to anticipate where they would go. So that's a bit weird. But anyway, Yhwach says, I know what he means. It's just worded weirdly. Yhwach says, I'm sure you were skeptical and had your doubts somewhere in your mind, and indeed you'd be correct to do so. The future can be changed. That's what you said, isn't it? Then we get this really cool full-page spread of Yhwach. His cloak is wigging out again. It's like full of eyes. I get what Kubo's going for. It's got the creepy look, but I still think it's so weird. Like, I don't know. I hope we eventually get like some full-on explanation for why he actually looks like this. I know he's absorbed the Soul King, but why is this the Soul King? Anyway, he says, just to clarify, the Almighty is not the power to see the future, it's the power to transform it. Called it. And then he says, yes, despair for me, Ichigo. And that's the end of the chapter. I thought that was a weird place to end it. I really thought Ishin was going to arrive, actually, when Ichigo was getting the shit kicked out of him. But, yeah, in a way, this is actually better in some ways, because it's a pretty creepy way to end the chapter. I'm almost certain Ishin's going to arrive next week, or very soon, anyway. But Ichigo's in serious trouble here. And once again, the artwork on the last page looks really, really good. Yhwach looks super sinister. And yeah, he's like, he says, now you would despair, basically. Because Ichigo's whole thing was, I'm not going to despair about this. So I hope Ichigo doesn't start despairing. I hope he keeps trying to fight, futilely, of course. And then Ishin will, I assume, arrive to save him. I think Orihime is going to get badly injured as well at some point coming up. At some point, we've got to return to the Hashwall fight, although what this does prove is that Ichigo is nowhere near strong enough to defeat Yhwach. So, if I were to compare this to the Rancor arc, we are actually about in the place before Ishin shows up. So I don't know if Kubo's doing parallels there or what, but we are in basically the same place. We're basically where Ichigo's getting his ass handed to him by Aizen. That whole bit where Aizen's like, I could rip out your heart if I wanted to, that sort of thing. And that's basically where we are now. So yeah, Ishin will show up, and then one can assume that the rest of the fights will carry on, and then eventually Ichigo's going to have to undergo some final training to defeat Yhwach. But it seems like where it's headed. It seems like it is headed very similar to the Rancor arc in terms of a roadmap. But yeah, it'd be definitely very interesting to see what Kubo does with this now, because I don't think anyone really expected Ichigo's Bankai to get gypped like that. Now, whether you're okay with that or not is a completely different question. Are you okay with that? Let me know in the comments below. I would be interested to know if you're basically reading this and you're like, what the fuck? But also let me know what you thought of Ichigo's Tensa Zangetsu, because it's not all that impressive, I don't think, necessarily. Obviously it's not because it got broken in half, but in terms of its looks, it's not all that impressive either. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this was an alright chapter. It's going to be very, very divisive. I kind of, the more I think about it, the more I kind of like the twist where Yhwach broke the blade before it even did anything. Again, not a lot happened though. So the artwork was very good. Again, I feel like I've got to give it another 3.5, just because these chapters haven't done anything crazy for me. They're not blowing me away or anything like that. The fight is fairly standard. It's a decent fight, but it's fairly standard. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was a good chapter. Okay, guys, so a pretty quick review this week, but then not a lot happened at all. Basically, this whole chapter was Ichigo summoning his Bankai, getting it cut in half, and then getting the shit kicked out of him. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's chapter, guys. Are you annoyed with how it went? I do see this chapter being very divisive. And what do you think is going to happen next week? Is Ichigo just going to get beaten around and then Ishin's going to show up? I think that's probably likely. Orihime and Ichigo are going to get beaten around and then Ishin will show up. But yeah, until next time, guys, that's pretty much it. Subscribe to my videos. I'd super appreciate the support, and give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Until next time, though, guys, see you later.